Ayomide here, and you already know what time it is. We're back for another episode of the World Without People podcast. More voices, more real stories, and even deeper conversations that challenge the way we see the world. This season, we're peeling back even more layers, exploring life, love, purpose, and the beautiful complexities of the human experience. New guests, fresh perspectives, and of course, the same unfiltered, soul stirring energy you love. So, whether you've been rocking with us since day one or you're just joining the adventure, welcome. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's keep the conversation going one unforgettable story at a time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The World Without People. My name is Ayomide, and I'm happy to be here on a solo episode. It's just me, and we've got something special for you. Because guess what? In just a couple of days, and if you're watching this on the day we release it, a day after, Nigeria will be turning 65. It also is my birthday month, so it's the best month ever. Shout out to October babies. All month long, we'll be celebrating October babies. My producer, Tojuku, is always stopping me about the fact that I'm not sharing pictures on the World Without People podcast. So we'll try this month to be sharing podcasts with the pictures of the hosts each and every month. But yes, so just as I am turning, I'll keep my age for now. Nigeria is turning 65. A big number, as most of you know, if Nigeria was a person, then the person would be retiring by now. Although Nigeria's laws are very interesting about this because my mom had to retire at 60 and not 65. So I think this might be another, it depends on the industry. You have to do 20 years, I think, like if you work somewhere for 20 years or before 60. I don't know, whatever the case is, at least by 65, officially Nigeria is supposed to be retiring if this was a person, right? But, we're still here, we're bustling, and I think obviously a baby compared to most other countries, right? And that means that we have a lot out there to put out, to bring forth, and I'm very excited about the future of Nigeria. I've always been excited about the future of Nigeria, as most of you know. So today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're not going to kind of focus on the past. We're trying to think about the future of Nigeria. We're trying to play a what if, what could happen, what will happen, what are our dreams, our hopes, our goals about Nigeria, the joy, the madness, the pride that we all feel. And because this is the World Without People, we'll play a little thought experiment on what the world would look like without Nigeria. So sit back and plug in and let's have this conversation. Okay, all right. So first of all, what does it mean to be Nigerian? I think that's a very interesting perspective to look at one's life, right? I'm a Christian, so sometimes it's hard to say that being Nigerian is my identity, right? I don't think that's supposed to be our identity as children of God, where Jesus is kids and that's that about that. But I think it's very interesting that God puts us in different, countries and different identities and different nationalities. I think it's also part of His brilliant plan, right? And I honestly wouldn't want to be anybody else, if I'm being very honest with you. I don't think that as I've grown older and I've been fortunate to be able to travel a bit and go to different countries and different places, and I don't think I'm going to be anything else. But what does that actually really mean, being Nigerian? For me, it's not food. For me, it's not our clothes or our tribal marks or things like that. I think for me, being Nigerian is really our laughter. I do not know a country that has jokes like we do. We joke about everything. It's actually really ridiculous. We should stop joking about things. We should actually be serious people. We're 65 years old. We should be serious people. But we joke about everything. I just cannot imagine a world where I'm not Nigerian and I don't get some of the jokes that happen. Like, do you know that sometimes let's say I'm seeing something on Instagram and it's another country saying it, and I'm like, wait, did it originate from us or did it originate from them? Like, I cannot tell. We take everything and we make it ours and we make it times two. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it's also in the stories, right? Because I also feel like some stories are so unique. Like, I was watching something the other day, I was reading something the other day. Tosin Olaseni, they put up this whole thing about how, what is the worst financial thing that has happened to you and your family, and have you recovered, or how did you recover, something like that. And somebody talked about how the first son of their family took all the parents' money, took all the parents' wealth, and like wasted it, and the family never kind of recovered. And I just thought, only in Nigeria, and I know it's not only in Nigeria. I mean, I know that other countries, other people. I mean, it's just an individual thing. But I think that systematic greed, for example, is one example of something that happens that can sometimes feel very, very unique to Nigerian. Because what did your father do to you? What did your mother do to you? What did your siblings do to you that you're going to take all of that and just take it? Like, I think for me, every time I think about being wealthy, all I want to see is my siblings being wealthy as well. Like, I want to be able to give them, I want to be able to give my mom, even before I think about anybody else. Like, that's my first priority, right? Well, my husband too now. Like in my mind, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to be quote unquote greedy for, not the other way around. Not that I will take from my own family and then destroy my own family in the process. And again, this is not unique, right? Because I think it happens. We've seen it even in the Bible, right? Like, it's not like, oh, it's just so utterly unique that somebody will make that decision, right? I don't know one of the Bible verses, but basically the guy stole something from where they had gone to raid, and God had told them to destroy everything, and he stole the thing, but his entire generation wiped out, like it was gone. There's nothing else that could be done. Like the people that were not even part of the what's it called. And I think that's part of the uniqueness of Nigeria that I sometimes see, that I'm just like, what in God's name? Whereas the flip side of that, right? Again, Tosi last time we put up this thing, and you guys should check out Money Africa. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying the podcast, please don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, or share button. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube, your support helps us to reach more people. Stay tuned for more amazing conversations, and thank you for being a part of our community. Again, she was like, what is the most outrageous thing that, I'm paraphrasing, that you've ever done? Like, that kind of hustle thing. And I just remember a whole bunch of stories talking about how they hustled to get themselves out of the country, and made a way for their family, or, just the kind of audacious things that I don't think we have. Like, I always think about the fact that if I had grown up here, and when I say here, I mean I grew up here up until I was 18. But there's something about growing up at that age, 18 in America, that kind of, I don't want to say dumbed, but like made me comfortable. Which is why as soon as I came back to Nigeria, I'm like, yeah, I'm coming back to Nigeria. Because the minute you come to Nigeria, your brain starts to think. And I think that, I know it's funny, but your brain starts to think because they're missing gaps, right? Like now, for example, it was flooding all of last week, right? What are all the opportunities? Like, everybody's complaining about the flood, yes, but what are all the opportunities? Like, if I could afford it, right, or if this was maybe my passion, is there a way I could get some kind of draining or drainage license that will allow me, create drainage across all of Lagos, right? And imagine what that could benefit not just me financially, but the country, right? So again, I'm now able to think not just, of course, I'll make money, I want money too, but like I can benefit people, right? I think about how everybody's saying that AI is going to take over. AI is only going to take over in countries that have lights and have computers and have internet. We don't have good internet. I've had to try 3 different internets in this house. Fiber One, MTN, and Starlink. And even Starlink is not as great because of the capacity of the country. It's not because Starlink in of itself is not the best internet. But again, where we had to put the Starlink, what's it called, what's it called, the dish or whatever, and how we'll get to every house and we have to buy an extension thing that it's just a mess and a half for something that was supposed to be plug and play, right? So AI cannot take over in a country that is not yet fully developed, right? And it makes sense. See, if we say that 25 is when most people's brains are formed, right? As a country, right? If at 25, because things happen to us, right? Let's just say trauma happened to us, right? If we're, let's think about like a person, trauma happened to us that affected all the things that, the growth formation, right? Then I can see that at 65, right, there's still things to learn. And again, if all was well and the world was all right, let's say by 100, that's still good, what? My math is mathing, 35 years for us to become something, right? And if you think about you as a person, the difference between your age 1 to 35, it's a long time for things to happen, right? So I think for me, right, I know I've gone kind of off kilter here, but being Nigerian, I think let me go back to that, is just the laughter, the joy, the jokes. Just sometimes when you see it in sport, like I just think about, was it last year when we were playing, what were we playing? I think we were trying to qualify for World Cup, and you should just see all the banter with Ghana, with South Africa, with like the banter on social media about, like, it's not like we have anything to say, we weren't doing well. I mean, other than the female team, shout out to the female team for keeping us, looking good out there. Whatever the case is, I'm saying that, we've never, it's not like we've carried that whole national pride for the past 10 years or whatever, but we will banter as if, no, we know how to win, like we're winners in that sense, right? Sometimes I think about the amount of people who banter about jollof rice. And I know that you don't cook. Like you yourself, you don't cook. You don't know how to make a good pot of jollof rice. But you banter about jollof rice as if you're the owner. Your recipe is the best. The whole 9 yards. Just look at what happened with Hilda Bassi, right? Honestly, for me, I was kind of like all over the place about it. Like, is it really something to be national pride about? Is this something to like? Is this the big like? Why is this like the thing? Like making a big pot of jollof rice? Why when people are like winning Nobel prizes, right? Like, why is this the thing that we want to talk about? However, whatever the case is, right, it's somebody going big and doing something that they want to do and achieving it, right? And I think that that's the interesting thing about Nigeria is that we're not even, like, and I get that we're not even trying to be like, okay, we are Nobel Prize winners, but we'll tell you that Hilda Bassi came from Nigeria and she won, Guinness World Records of making the, largest pot of jollof rice. And it's so, in my mind, it's like, what in God's name? Why do we care about that kind of thing? The fact that we do and we take it with national pride and we fight other countries about it, I think it's something to really reflect on, right? Things are hard. I was listening to somebody today. I was listening to church, and they said that because of the rains, between Monday and Friday, the person could not step out of their house. Like for 1 minute, step out of their house. Like that's how much the floods had, flooded, for lack of a better term. But they were still grateful, right? They were grateful for life. They were grateful for family. It could have been worse, and I think it can be worse. And we are sometimes maybe even seeing worse. But I also think that seeing worse also means that there is more to come. There's better to come. It's almost like, giving birth. I haven't had that experience, but I've quite literally watched way too many birth experiences. Way too many. And, that pain before the baby actually comes, like for me, it looks painful as hell. Just seeing that. But when the baby comes, they all forget it, right? The most important thing that they all care about now is this little thing, this little person that they have. And I just think that we are almost at that precipice, right? I think that this is the time. I think that where in other countries AI is now kind of taking over the revolution, we have a place to now, using AI still in places that we can, then focus on what we need to focus on. So for example, in my mind, things like production, that we need, right? We need to be able to locally produce everything, right? Otherwise, we're going to be producing Ashoebi going in other countries, right? So think about those kind of things. Now we're producing it locally. Where does AI come in? Where does technology come in? Because of the advancement of other countries, I think we get to benefit from that. And we don't have to start from scratch, right? And I really like that because we were fortunate because not every other African country or not every other developed country took on the internet as much as we have in Nigeria, I believe. And so that's why you see that, like India, where a lot of people are looking for coders and IT people and front-end engineers and software engineers, they come to Nigeria, right? Because we got that opportunity to be able to use the internet and learn it. Also, some people did it for Yahoo, but other people did it for learning. And so I think that gives us the opportunity then to again become, a good producing country if we do take advantage. So those are my thoughts about being Nigerian. As you know, I talk a lot about how much I love this country. Do I still believe it can be better? Absolutely, 120%. It can never. If you ask me, there's nothing like home. I'm very, very much. My favorite song, King Sunny and Ajole Dabile, Ejeka Fọwọ́pọ̀ Finish. I mean, I sing that song every time. For me, Nigeria is great and all of that stuff. Okay, and you listening, what are you most proud of as a Nigerian? Slide into our DMs and tell us. Please, we want to know, and then I'll be able to read some next week over Instagram. And so now we have a world without people angle, right? And what does that mean? What would the world be if Nigeria disappears for just 24 hours? 24 hours, I just want you to imagine. There's no jollof rice, there's no Afrobeats, there's no remittances, which I think that's just interesting. I think about how much remittances, even my average self did. You don't even realize how much it makes a difference, right? What do you think the first thing the world would miss? I don't know. It can't be jollof rice. It won't be jollof rice. It won't be Afrobeat. I think it will be our talent, actually. Because people don't realize, I mean, you see it a lot, and you see that this is why we sometimes get into trouble with this whole, Black African Americans versus, Africans and all of that. And obviously, Nigerians kind of lead the pack on that. But, yeah, the amount of hospitals that will just be left empty without doctors, without nurses, oh my gosh. And I'm not even saying in Nigeria, I'm saying obviously in other countries. Teachers, taxi guys, Uber drivers, cleaners, engineers, bankers, accountants. Oh wow! I think especially in the medical field in America. I'm just going to use America as an experience, and maybe even in the UK. Pharmacists, gosh, lawyers. No, and I mean, think about it from you have a bit of Nigeria. And when I say a bit of Nigeria, let me not even go far. Let me not say that, oh, maybe your ancestors. I'm saying like you yourself, right? Like okay, well, let's say people 1 to 65 who have a mix of Nigeria. No. And I mean, one thing I think, and this is my own personal opinion, that Nigeria probably has the most mixed race numbers. So what do I mean by that? I mean, my friend just got married, a high school friend, I just saw that he got married to his Norwegian, fiance, right? Like, and so his cousin was saying, oh, we're mixing it up because he's married to, I think, Chinese or Korean or something like that. And that's just one family, right? Like, they've already mixed it up that much, right? So think about it, right? Like, Irish, I've seen Jewish, French. Just name the place, the most outrageous place you've ever thought of. There's a Nigerian there. I don't know where I went to the other day. Egypt. And I thought, wow, this is the first place I haven't seen Nigerians. And then my sister-in-law comes in and she's like, oh yeah, they had a whole Nigerian hair salon and everything over there, and I just didn't see it. And I was like, oh my god, like I was gonna say I finally went to a country that there was no Nigerians, and I thought, oh, it makes sense that there will be no Nigerians there because of the heat. But what am I saying? There's also hot in Nigeria. So I say all of that to just say that I think that that's the most important thing that we. I don't. You know, the funny thing is that we talk a lot about our jollof rice and we talk a lot about Afro-beans, but it's the least of what we are, I think, as a people. It's a good thing to show. It's kind of like evident, but I think what people don't realize is what we take for granted is our talent, which is why it's a big deal that there's so much brain drain, honestly. The other day I'm coming back from the States, and I had seen my friend. I had her on the episode on the podcast at Bimbola, and she was at the airport picking up some doctors who were coming to come do scoliosis surgeries, right? And I just thought, wow, this is amazing. These are people who are coming to use their free time to, give back, right? And these are a lot of international folks, right? But I think about the amount of doctors I know, like me. I mean, the amount of doctors I know in my church, they're like 20. I don't have a doctor's problem. I'm calling somebody. Like I know them in every field, right? My best friend is an ENT surgeon. His wife is a dermatologist. I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. And they're all outside of this country, right? And so, especially the medical field, I think that's what will be the most in Nigeria should just count. And another reason why Nigeria, please do not count. Anyways, and so if we zoom out even further, what would West Africa look like? I mean, I feel like it's the same thing, right? Without Nigeria's influence, I think that idea of us being a giant of Africa, we've seen so many. There's even this one spiritual thing that keeps going around about, or was it even Nelson Mandela? This whole idea of if Nigeria should awaken, right? And I pray this is the year that we awaken. I pray this is the moment that we awaken. What would Africa even be like? Anyways, you think? Let me know. What do you think? Would the region feel quieter, different? Maybe freer in some ways. So you get to play futurist. Send your wildest scenarios of what Nigeria would look like, or what the world would look like, what Africa would look like if Nigeria should disappear for 24 hours. Just 24 hours, because we don't want Nigeria to disappear. Alright. But anyways, moving on to I want to say final segment, almost final segment. We often talk about presidents and billionaires, but Nigeria's heartbeat lives in small acts. The street cleaner who makes everyone laugh, as I just talked about, the coder building a fintech app in a cyber cafe, the food vendor quietly switching to biodegradable packaging. These are the micro changes that actually shift our lives. And despite everything, Nigerians find joy in chaos. We dance in traffic jams, we turn cow cuts into block parties. How do you find joy in chaos? That's my challenge to you this week. I just told you, for example, someone who was locked up in the house for 1 week, right? How do you imagine they found joy in the chaos? And we've seen some of the videos about it. People were still dancing in the rain, right? And still dancing with the waters and making jokes about it. And I know it's not funny because we really need to fix the problem before we become flooded altogether and like Noah's Ark kind of situation, right? But I think being able to remember that there's a part we play, but also not to get bogged down by the parts that we can't play, right? We can't do everything, right? It's not even practical. Even if we try, we can't literally all go and dig to get proper drainage. But we do have a part to play in, getting the right person to be our leader, right? In the small places, and I think I spoke about it the last time we talked about Nigeria, this idea of joining your estates community meeting, right? The local government councillors and all of that, joining in those elections, right? Let's start having those conversations as people that, nominating the person that we've seen, we've talked to, we appreciate, and we want that person to lead us, right? Doing it in our small camps, right? Not to talk about the dead in that sense, because I'm not a fan. But one of the things I love about the idea of what should I say his name? I guess I have to say it. What Charlie Kirk did was this still the idea of going onto campuses to engage young minds. What are we doing about that? Right? If we're saying that Nigeria and all of Africa has the youngest population in the world, right? I think about 70% of our nation is 25 and older and younger. Then what are we doing to engage them? And when do we meet them, right? We meet them in high school, we meet them in college, we meet them in, all of that stuff. So that is where you're supposed to go and meet them and engage them, right? And I know we do that a lot, religion, Christians will do that, right? We'll go and evangelize on campus. But it's not enough to just evangelize now. We need to get their minds into community, into loving the country, into engaging and not just thinking about going to Japan. And I think for me, that's the one of the things that we need to look forward to as we get into year 65. And it means you and I, right? I'm trying to do that through this platform, right? I'm hoping that I'm going to meet and continue to talk to young minds that will then be able to say, okay, this is what I want to do for this country. I see repping for this country is what I want to do. But where are you at? What are you doing? How are you engaging your mind? Because, I sometimes I think about some of the things I read where this one person was talking about how they jackpot and, they hadn't seen their dad for about 4 or 5 years until the day their dad died. For me, that's the worst feeling. For me, it's the absolute worst feeling. Like, I know that, we should get global and we should travel and all of that stuff. But I cannot imagine not seeing my parents for that long and then them passing. We're not supposed to live our lives for them, but I think that even if it was every year, even if that person just came home every year, right? So that jackpot that you do that you cannot not come back, that's not just the way, right? I like the idea that I can go and I can come, right? And I think I want everybody to go and come. I want everybody to travel. I'm not one of those people who thinks, I think you should travel, but hey, and I always say, Cotonou is travel. It's another place. You've not been there. First of all, you've not been to the 50 states in Nigeria, if I'm being very, very honest. Let's be very, very honest. I can count on my one hand who I've been to in Nigeria. Granted, I can count because I lived mostly in America for the past however many years. I also know that I've been to most states and then in the US than most people who live there. And so sometimes we even don't realize how much we lack. We put so much identity in where we're at and from this place. Yeah, that's great, but move around. Travel. Cotonou is down the street. Togo is down the street. Ghana is down the street. Yeah. There's so many places down the street. Travel, I agree, you should go. But maybe think about coming back, right? Think about coming back with your parents. Think about coming back for the growth of this country that and let's be honest, we all, and I know people will argue, but you've gotten something from regardless, right? If nothing else, you got a friend, right? If the country hasn't done anything for you, the fact that you were born here, the fact that your parents were born here, you've gotten friends, you've gotten family, then Nigeria has still done something for you. So I think for me, yeah, that those are my thoughts, and I'm hoping that we continue to find joy in what we're doing as Nigerians, in who we are as Nigerians. And so I want to challenge you. How do you find joy in the chaos? And I want you to share that with me as well. Okay, like I mentioned before we hit our closing remarks, it's my birthday month. So, what do I want for my birthday? I actually don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. I do want you to send me questions and comments. That's all I'm asking for this birthday. I want one a day. Send me a question, send me a comment. And if you do so, then I get to talk more on IG or however way we decide to format this. But I feel like then you get to see me more, right? So it's kind of like trade and butter. That's exactly all that I want for my birthday this month. And so yes, the countdown officially begins to that. But yeah, I do want to use this opportunity to also say thank you for joining us so far. 10 months. I can't believe we're entering the 10th month of the year. That is so cool. Like, you guys have been with me and rocking with me. And this is the first year we've done all videos, so yay. We're trying, we're making it work. We're hoping for bigger and better. But yes, as Nigeria hits 65, here's my birthday wish. May we hold on to our creativity, our humor, and our resilience, and channel them into a country we're proud to hand over to the next generation. That's it for today's solo episode. Like I said, send in all your comments, your DMs, your questions, and I cannot wait to see you next week. Happy birthday, Nigeria. I love you. I really do. Happy birthday to me in advance. Oh, and to all the October babies. Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you for joining me in today's episode. Just like you would share with friends about a great book you read, don't forget to share this if you enjoyed it. Connect with us on IG and Twitter at TWWPcast and get details on the website at worldwithoutpeople.org. And hey, remember to make loving others the story of your life. Until next time, this is The World Without People.